Ryan Day said it himself. Efficiency is what we're after, and that mindset must show up again tomorrow when the Buckeyes walk into Ross-Ade Stadium.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during today's show, I will unveil my score prediction for tomorrow's game, as well as numerous Buckeyes that should shine tomorrow afternoon. But first, one thing has remained the same for Ohio State from the game in week number 1 until game number 9 tomorrow. It's the Buckeyes' focus and challenge each and every week is for the offense to be efficient. And it's one thing for Ryan Day and Brian Hartline to preach that in practice, or for the Buckeyes to do that, to be efficient against a Grambling team or against Ohio. It's another thing to do it in Big Ten play week after week after week. And in game number 9, you're mentally getting tired. You may be physically getting weak. You may be feeling the drain and the grind of a long season, which you're in the middle of right now. If you want to accomplish all of your goals this season, the Buckeyes are literally in the middle of the year. And while the Buckeyes are in the middle of the year, I think it's a real thing to think that the players that are human could walk into Ross-Ade Stadium tomorrow and realize we can just play our B+ or B game and still find a way to beat Purdue. But that's not Ohio State's goal. That's not Ohio State's mission. The Buckeyes' mission each and every week is for the offense to play efficient no matter who you're playing. And so when they walk into Ross-Ade Stadium tomorrow, keep the main thing the main thing. Remember to be efficient. Don't waste any moments, any movements. Don't waste any snaps. Don't waste anything. Seize the moment, capture the day, and realize that this is a moment for Ohio State to test themselves. It's not about testing the other team or the other team testing Ohio State. This is a moment for Ohio State to test themselves to really show that they are the cream of the crop. Not only the best in the Big Ten Conference, but also the best team in the country. Also, another human element thing rolls into this game, factoring into why Ohio State needs to make sure they play efficient tomorrow. You're playing your first game as the number 1 team in the country via the college football playoff rankings in 2025. Let that sink in for you. So we have heard all the talk about, well, Ohio State this, Ohio State that. Their offense is pretty good, but they ain't played nobody. Now the committee is rewarding you for how you have played against those that have been in the first 8 games that you have played. That's another reason for Ohio State to go out there and to prove it. Prove you are that team. Prove you are real. This isn't about Purdue, and I understand Purdue is not good. They only have 2 wins. Their leading rusher, one of the better backs in the Big Ten, and Devin Mockabee is out for the season. So that's a big blow for Purdue's offense that already doesn't have enough firepower to keep this thing close. And Ohio State knows all of these things, and it'd be natural for some other players on the team to just mail it in. But that can't happen. And I love how Ryan Day said it on his radio show on Thursday, and he didn't really put any wasted words in this statement. Quote, efficiency is what we're after, end quote. A clean, clear statement about what the Buckeyes' offensive game plan is every single week. And let's think back to the first half against Penn State last week, who, not trying to be mean, they have better talent than Purdue. In the first half against Penn State, Ohio State scored on the first 3 drives, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. They probably were going to score on that 4th drive, but unfortunately, C.J. Donaldson fumbled the football, gave Penn State the ball back inside the red zone. Next thing you know, Penn State scores. And it wouldn't have shocked me if Ohio State scored a field goal on that final drive in a 2-minute drill with the way that Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Julian Sand and the offensive line were playing in the first half of that game. It wouldn't have shocked me, but there was a moment there where the Buckeyes had an opportunity to put more points on the board, but they weren't efficient. And that is not so much about Penn State, that's about Ohio State. Because Ryan Day said it clear. Every single game is about us. It's about the guys in this locker room, the guys wearing our colors. Every single game is about us. And that includes games against lesser opponents that aren't more talented than you or even close to having the same amount of talent as you. It's about you. Because if you can get up for a game in West Lafayette that is the weather's been a little hit or miss here every now and then, so you're not sure what the weather's going to be. All you know is it's a environment that has a very proud fan base. They love their Purdue football. It's a weird thing, and I've lived near Purdue and have gone to numerous Purdue football games. It's very odd for a program that's not really a football program to get the kind of love they get from their fans week in and week out. And I would not be shocked if tomorrow's game is a sellout, mixed in with a lot of scarlet and gray. And trust me, I may even wear this hat. Those of you watching right now via the YouTube, I might wear this hat tomorrow, just to kind of put some more color, a little bit of color to it, a little red. Not overarching red. Look to my right, I got a red hat there, got another red hat there. I can wear the national championship hat too, just to remind everybody that Ohio State's different. But Purdue fans are going to be there. They're going to be loud. They're going to cheer. They're going to be there and support their team. That's what they do very well. In that environment, maybe a sellout. You'll probably get a few loud moments. Ohio State can shut those down very quickly by remembering to stay efficient. Now, Ryan Day made a statement on the radio that I loved. I didn't just like it. Y'all, I love it. Ryan Day said this, quote, "When it's time to turn up the gas, we will," end quote. So we said after the off week, the second off week, that it was time for Ohio State to turn up the intensity, to be a little bit, to impose your will a little bit more, go a little bit faster on offense, and to do all of these things because you can, not just because you need to, because the slow pace is it's pretty slow, but because you can. And if you do that, there are gears that Ohio State can hit that nobody else can slow down. But Ryan Day said that that's not the time right now. This isn't the time nor the place to turn up the gas. But when the time comes, they will. And I think Ryan Day knows there are certain things that they do. I know he knows. There are certain things that the team does during practice that will give you a great feel if you're a coach about what can happen down in the future. Because if I am Ryan Day and I'm there in practice and I know you're going up against one of the best defenses in the country, some of the best corners in the country, the best safety in the country, the best linebacker duo in the country, the best in the country all over the place, and that's what you're going up against, well, you know that when you do it in practice and it works, it's probably going to work in the game too. So Ryan Day knows when he says, when it's time to turn up the gas, we will, he knows they can do it. They just aren't doing it right now. They're trying to make sure that every single I is dotted and T is crossed, and making sure that every player out there does their job. And when they need to make some adjustments on the fly or draw plays in the sand, they can do that. I know people are still oohing and ahhing over Ryan Day saying they drew up the play at halftime. Basketball coaches draw plays all the time. Football coaches draw plays all the time. I've been on teams where they have drawn up plays just at the drop of a hat. This isn't new. It won't be the first. It wasn't the first time Ohio State drew up a play at halftime or in the middle of a game, and it won't be the last. It's a part of football. It's fun. I'm glad Ryan Day discussed that. He said he maybe should have kept it to himself. Not his exact words, but kind of the thought that he had behind the microphone. If you say it or if you don't, it really isn't a big deal. Like that, I guess nicer coaches say that, but it may happen. And I expect Ohio State down the road draw more plays in the sand and allow them to be efficiently ran so Ohio State moves the ball down the field. Efficiency is a goal. If you have an efficient offense with these weapons, y'all, nobody can stop them. Speaking of people that can't be stopped, Ohio State has numerous guys that have been forces and that have been game wreckers throughout the season, and a few of them should shine tomorrow afternoon, not night, when the Buckeyes take a trip to West Lafayette. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Ohio State, Arvell Reese delivered once again. My man had 12 tackles a week ago, had a sack when he went around that left tackle. It hit that bend, it went flat and pancaked the quarterback. Ethan Grunkemeyer felt that hit, but also Arvell Reese just showed off once again why he is one of the better players in college football. I'm not going to say he's the best. He's one of the better players in the sport, and he did it once again. Y'all, when the pressure was on, Arvell Reese came through with no hesitation and no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you know this performance wasn't a fluke. Arvell Reese is on a streak. And just like Arvell Reese delivered for the Buckeyes, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Thank you all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. One quick programming note, a quick reminder that there will not be a live show after actually tonight's basketball game where the Buckeyes are back on the hardwood, back inside the shot tonight. This evening's tip-off, I believe, is at 6:30 p.m. on Big Ten Network. And then there will not be a live show after Ohio State football game tomorrow. This evening, have some plans, have to cover a high school football game. And then tomorrow, my wife and I will actually be at the game in West Lafayette. So no reaction show to tonight's basketball game against Purdue Fort Wayne. That is a 6:30 tip on the Big Ten Network. And no live show tomorrow after Ohio State pounds the Purdue Boilermakers. Y'all, I don't think this game's going to be close. I won't unveil my score prediction yet, but by that, you may have a good feeling about where my mind currently is. My mind is currently focused on a few Buckeyes that should shine. Absolutely shine. That if you're trying to give a team a bunch of Buckeye leaves and you say, oh, if you do this, you get 5 extra, or if you do this, you get 15 extra, these guys may get all of the Buckeye leads for how they should play tomorrow. The first guy, let's go to the guy that's in the homecoming. It's Max Klare. There's another guy we're going to talk about a little bit later that may have a quote-unquote homecoming tomorrow afternoon. But Max Klare spent a little bit of time at Purdue, was a big-time tight end a year ago, one of the better tight ends in the Big Ten, 51 catches, 600, I believe 85 receiving yards a year ago. And Max Klare is going back to Purdue, and I would not be shocked if they try to get him the ball early in the first 12 to 15 scripted plays when the Buckeyes have the ball, because you want to make sure he goes back and has a little bit of fun. He enjoys it. And it's similar to a year ago when Cardinal Tate went back to Chicago, played that game at Wrigley Field. What do you remember about Cardinal Tate? Him making big plays. I believe he had 2 tuds, and you saw Cardinal Tate have a phenomenal and successful homecoming. I believe that same thing is going to happen tomorrow with Max Klare. Is he going to go over 100 yards? It's possible. Will he have 2 receiving touchdowns? That's likely too. I'm not putting a number on it, but I believe he is going to shine. And for a tight end to shine, it's not all about the receiving game. It's also about the blocking, because Ohio State puts a premium on tight ends blocking. I think he's going to have one of his better games in 2025 with Ohio State tomorrow afternoon. Another homecoming, I say quote unquote, where Max Klare actually played at Purdue. Caden Curry is from the state of Indiana. This game's going to be in Indiana. He's going to have a lot of family and friends there at the game. And I look forward to seeing Caden Curry do what he's always done. I went back and watched part of the Purdue's game against Michigan last week, where it was a closer game than I expected. But Purdue's offensive line isn't the strongest at all. And I believe that's one thing that Caden Curry is able to take advantage of. I wouldn't be shocked if he had 2 sacks tomorrow, adding another TFL on a run stopped in the backfield, 5 or 6 tackles. I mean, these are legit numbers and realistic numbers that Caden Curry can have tomorrow in front of his family and friends and back home in his home state. Another guy that's on the defensive line that I believe is moving up draft boards as we speak is Kayden McDonald. What is he, about 6'3", 6'4", about 327 to be exact. I believe that number is exact. Kaden McDonald's ability to be so quick off the line of scrimmage, man. Every time I watch him play, I try to focus on certain plays, and maybe I miss it, but I realize he's back in the backfield very quickly. Hit that rewind button. You go back and look at it, you're thinking, how do you run and move that quickly when you are a human the size that you are? Because I am kind of confused that a human that size being able to move like that, you would think it should be illegal. His ability off on the scrimmage, quick swim move, bam, right back there. His ability to get in the backfield, penetrate the offensive line, shed and elude blockers is insane. Not just for a guy who's pushing 330, really close to 330. If he were 285, Michael Hall size, Michael Hall may have been a little bit lighter, I would be saying the same thing because his athleticism for his size. We thought Tyleik Williams was phenomenal. Kayden McDonald's phenomenal too. And is he better? Maybe. I don't know. We saw a lot of Tyleik Williams, a lot of healthy. Tyleik Williams was a force, one of the better interior defensive linemen in the country. I'm not sure if Kayden McDonald's better. There's a conversation that should be had about if Kayden McDonald is better than Tyleik Williams, and I think him and Caden Curry together are going to make that Purdue offensive line look very foolish. Be back in the backfield all night, all day long. This 1:00 kickoff is going to throw me off. Right now, the game's at 1. We'll get there. We're going to get our seats and have a good old time. But it just feels weird. And when I know it's weird in my head, it might come out weird through the microphone, and I apologize, but I would love to know why 1:00 is the thing. Now, I hadn't looked at the schedule. Maybe it's to accommodate some volleyball, as the Big Ten is really big on primetime volleyball on Saturday evenings. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a Nebraska or a Wisconsin or a Washington or USC or even Ohio State volleyball game tomorrow evening where a 1:00 kickoff is going to help them transition from football to volleyball on a Saturday evening. So I'm not really sure. I know I went very, very heavy on guys in the interior. I think this could be a game where Mathews Jr. gets a pick. They really didn't get tested last week. Ethan Grunkemeyer didn't really throw the ball outside to the guys that IGB or Mathews Jr. were defending at the time. But I see a scenario where Mathews Jr. is similar to Kayden McDonald, is going to start to rise up draft boards because they're going to need his play to be very big down the stretch. Maybe not against UCLA and Rutgers, UCLA more than Rutgers, but definitely against Michigan, definitely against whoever Ohio State plays in the Big Ten title, assuming they make it to that point in the season. And then the CFP, you're definitely going to need Jermaine to be that guy. And so I think that Caden McDonald, Max Klare, Caden Curry, Mathews Jr. I believe all 4 of those guys should shine tomorrow afternoon. Who do you think should shine for Ohio State tomorrow? I know it's Purdue. The weather, I just had it up too. The weather in West Lafayette on Saturday is currently, there's no rain in the forecast, high of 57 degrees, a little bit cloudy. Winds light and variable. A slight chance of rain. A little bit of rain. But nothing crazy. Looks like there may be snow on Sunday. Hadn't looked that far in the forecast, but I'm not looking forward to that. I know it's going to drop and be cold on Sunday. But, yeah, that's a little shocker right now on the air. But I don't believe there will be no shock if Curry, Clair, McDonald, or Mathews Jr. go off tomorrow. And I mentioned Mathews Jr. because as it's expected that Ohio State will get up early, you're going to have to throw the ball outside to try to keep this game close and to keep it respectable. Well, if you do that, Jermaine's doing his job like he always is, he could get a pick 6. He could get a couple picks. Why? Because you're throwing to the guys he's guarding. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a defensive touchdown tomorrow. I think anything is possible as far as Ohio State dominating this game, including some stuff in the return game. My mood changed because y'all know that the return game is not my favorite topic to talk about, but that is at the top of my head. I think about how tomorrow's game is going to go and the score prediction for tomorrow. Both of those things are coming at you after the break. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Thank you all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. One big announcement that has come out a couple days ago, but we got to say it once again. It's that Ohio State Locked On Buckeyes is now shining a bigger light on Ohio State as Locked On Buckeyes has its own Facebook page. Locked On Buckeyes is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, we're there, and we're just trying to shine light on the Buckeyes and give you more coverage and the coverage that you deserve. One thing about Facebook is that there will be some posts that are on Facebook that will not be anywhere else. More questions and different things to generate some conversation and dialogue between you, the fan, and myself. So we're going to try to expand, and in 2025 has been a big year for growth for this show. It's also going to be a big growth for this show on social media. One thing we know about this game is that you can look on social media and people will have their own score predictions for this game. And I don't think this game is going to be close. Ohio State has way too much going on right now with the way they're playing, how efficient they have been when they have the football, how the defense restricts and contains every single team they play. Then you add in Purdue's defense that really is a struggle all year. They're giving up 234 passing yards, giving up 160 rushing yards per game. That's not great at all. The Purdue's offense, yeah, they have some good players. Ryan Brown's okay. Not the worst, but he's okay. But I wouldn't be shocked if he threw more interceptions and touchdowns tomorrow. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State just got up early and didn't look back. I got Ohio State winning this game tomorrow 49-3. Let's think if Ohio State is able to get 4 drives in the first half, that's 28 points. And I see a scenario where in the second half, they're going to score at 3 more touchdowns and call it a day. I don't think Ryan Day is trying to go in here and to open up the playbook a lot or try different things or get out of his normal path. I don't think it's time for Ohio State, in the way that Ryan Day says it, I don't think it's time for Ohio State to turn up the gas. I would love for them to. I would love for them to turn up the gas because it's more fun. It's more fun when Ohio State is scoring 56 and 63 points a game because they can go a little bit faster, but efficiency is the key. You're going to contain the ball, have more time of possession, play your style with the weapons on the outside, and let the chips fall where they may. 49-3. Now, you may want to say, Jay, Ohio State didn't give up a touchdown a year ago, or field goal at all a year ago. Actually, Ohio State shut out Purdue. You're correct. You're very, very smart. But the one thing I think about this game is once the backups come in, it's easier to move the ball. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ohio State's backups are in when Purdue starters are in. Because a lot of guys at Ohio State would be starting at Purdue. I'm not trying to be funny. It's just realistic. And so I think there's a part of tomorrow's game that once the game is out of hand and Ohio State brings in their backups, Lincoln Kienholz and Isaiah West being more of a guy in the backfield, getting more touches, Quincy Porter, Phillip Bell, Bryson Rogers, Mylan Graham, all those guys on the outside, Jake Cook and the big hog mollies, Ian Moore, who's also coming back home in the state of Indiana, where he played football at New Palestine High School, who has a big game on Friday night in their sectional championship game. I'm sure he'll be trying to root his team on a victory. But when those big boys come in, the backups come in, yeah, you can score multiple times. I wouldn't be shocked that they scored once in the third, once in the fourth, assuming they're able to get on the field at that point in time, because at some point, you don't need to have all your dogs in. You don't. this game shouldn't be close. Purdue has talent. Purdue has a coach in Barry Odom that is eager and is working very hard to build a program that fans want to be proud of. But this ain't a game where you're just going to be able to roll in and play spoiler. Many of you may have flashbacks to the game of 2018 when Rondell Moore lit up Ohio State. Ohio State was not able to tackle the 5'6" running back, slot receiver, whatever he was. He was a monster. He was the real deal. And they don't have a guy like that. They don't. No. And I'm sure they wish they did, because Barry Odom would find a way to dial up his number at the right time for Ohio State to fall and for him to get into the end zone. They don't have a guy like that. That was also the perfect storm. It was a night game. It was, I believe, a Tyler Trent recognition or honor in that day. So there's a lot of emotions, a lot riding into the game. The anxiety for the players may have been a little bit higher than it would have gone away when they started to run up the score. It happens. It happens. But this game shouldn't be close. There's no. If Ohio State wanted to score 60 tomorrow, they could. I'm going 49-3 because I even looked at FanDuel for the numbers as far as the Ohio State's favored by minus 30.5, 29.5. I heard that number recently. I don't know if that's exactly where FanDuel currently is. I don't even care about the over-under. I don't. When I put this stuff together, I don't look at sports books. No. When I was a kid, before betting was as popular as it currently is, and before the sports books, really before we even had phones, I didn't even care. I look out there, I see who's playing, I watch the games, I know how they're playing, their rotations, and a receiver and all those things. I knew a lot about what was going on, and it seems like people are leaning into the sports betting and the sports books, and I'm all for the sports books, don't get me wrong, but I don't want those to impact how I am viewing a game, how I am predicting a game and analyzing it. I personally, personal opinion, I don't want those to influence me. Now, I will tweet them out and I will share them, but when it comes to preparing for this show, I want to give you the best. I want to give you the best of my mind, the best analysis, and I don't want to come on here and just regurgitate some numbers and say, oh, well, this is what we got. No. I didn't say this earlier, and I told myself I wasn't going to I'm going to talk about this guy. I believe his name is Andrew Perloff, former Danette of the Dan Patrick Show, one of the producers. He's now on the Infinity Sports Network with Maggie and Perloff, I believe is the name of the show. He made a comment about Julian Stan and his Heisman candidacy and him being at the top of the list via numerous sports books, one of them being FanDuel. He said, who have they played? Who have they played? And he was downplaying Julian Sand's play because of who was on the schedule. Now, this is also on the heels of a lot of national writers and voices being at Ohio State last week for the Ohio State-Penn State game, and they were oohing and eyeing and drooling about how Julian Sand was playing. Now, maybe you say, well, it's because they're playing Penn State. When you look at a record that someone is 3-5, I think it's 3-5, maybe 3-4, whatever the case may be, they have won a Big Ten game. You would say, well, they're not that good. But you look at the symbol, you look at the jersey, you say, oh, okay, they got good players. Why in the world are people talking about Julian Sand and saying he ain't played nobody, he ain't that good? Watch the ball. Watch him play football. And let your two eyeballs tell you how the man is playing. I saw the video go around, and I don't like doing this because people be saying some crazy stuff that doesn't make any sense. But when you watch Julian Sand play, it's clear he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Definitely in the conference. If it's a debate between him and Fernando Mendoza, I can understand why there's a debate. But who is the better thrower of the football? Who processes better? That might have to go to Julian Sand. I think Fernando Mendoza has the better legs. He's a better runner. There are things he does better. But Julian Sand, someone's saying, oh, he's doing this because they ain't playing nobody. Excuse me? Make that make sense. Because Penn State has them same players, and Julian Sand was 20-23, 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. That ain't because he just played a cupcake. That's because that man was wheeling and dealing and putting on a show all day long. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig Sheeman is a man that provides the necessary analysis for Big Ten football, and he dives into the rivalries, the championship race, and everything in between. You can find Locked On Buckeyes and Locked On Big Ten on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a Friday. We'll see you next time.